Good morning, LUNC fans. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Jay. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment on the way out. It's really going to help us out here on the channel. So I have no doubt you're up to date with BLV Labs' recent work. They've been doing an improvement on the governance module, and it's relatively simple stuff to put into an update. And that's not really what this video is about. As you can tell from the title of this video, we're back at my grand thesis of a Goldilocks burn tax theory. It's definitely possible, and the more I look into it, the further we get into the future with the blockchain, the more I begin to understand how possible it is for us to introduce a Goldilocks burn tax. And BLV Labs work kind of proves that it's doable. So in short, effectively, what they've done is now consistently pegged, okay, a proposal at $500. This is very important. So while the price of LUNC fluctuates, it's still going to keep it at the value of $500. Again, this is a vital update that we needed to the governance module. Now, if a team is able to keep, okay, a consistent dollar value, why couldn't we have a variable burn tax? And when you begin to dive into it, you start to really look at the, as I like to say, the bite and the crunch of the situation and what really comes into play when you're trying to implement a variable burn tax rate. So there's a few ways you could really do this. Some developers would probably come up with hundreds of thousands of ways to get this done. But what we're looking for is something that really serves our ecosystem. It doesn't punish the ecosystem. And more importantly, it's got to be able to be micromanaged off chain. This is such an important aspect if we want, for example, CEXs to play ball. Now, a lot of people believe if we chop and change the burn tax, Binance is going to be upset. We need to understand that Binance burning is completely separate to what we do. In fact, they burn around 1% of their volume. It's not a huge amount for them. So again, it's not a situation where if we chop and change the burn tax, Binance are just going to waddle off. That's definitely not what we're going to be looking at. So like I said, there's a few ways that you could do this by defining the metrics for the burn tax adjustment. You've got volume thresholds. So you could have a low volume, a medium volume, and a high volume. And those could adjust based on a frequency, and it could be determined on maybe every block, hourly, or maybe even daily. But it's definitely something that would need to be determined on the block. Some developers would go down the route of a smart contract or maybe some protocol logic that uses a governance module to store the current tax rate and adjust it automatically based on some predefined rules that are all made up serving the volume on and off chain. We could deploy a volume oracle. That oracle would collect on-chain volume data. It would feed it to the tax adjustment logic module. And then we could also do the tax rate being adjusted in real time, like I said, or fixed at intervals based on dates, times, hours, whatever. You could really start to play with a module like this if you built it. Now, we've got another route where we could just update the fee processing system, which is kind of what was done with the simplification of the gas. But this time we're talking about modifying the fee handler module in the Terra Classic code base. So this is going right into the code base and getting at it on a code level. You would do something like applying the tax rate dynamically at a transaction level. You could route the burn tokens to the burn dress automatically. We've also got the governance and safeguard situation, which is to establish really a cap and a floor for the tax rate to prevent extreme values coming into play. I had said this was a Goldilocks tax, and yes, there are going to need to be a high threshold and a low threshold. We would need to allow governance proposals to address those thresholds if need be. They would be able to adjust those thresholds through governance and doing it all through the tax logic parameters if needed. again, this all has to work around governance. Seeing that BLV Labs has been able to do what they said they were going to do by fixing the value at $500, regardless of the fluctuation in price, it makes what I'm saying here far more reasonable and in the realms of reality. Let's say there's going to need to be a fail-safe mechanism, as always, if you like, a big red button that could suspend that dynamic adjustments in case of some sort of instability in the burn tax. Again, it's not going to be the most dangerous thing if more coins are being burnt than normal. So yeah, taking safeguards, taking governance into account, and the fact that this is a decentralized ecosystem and we must develop in a decentralized manner. We must not bend the rules. We must not break the rules. We must abide by the rules. If we can show everybody else we're playing by the ball, eventually you'll start to attract people that see that as the norm, the chivalrous thing to do. So you're all wondering about off-chain integration, and trust me, I've been putting a lot of thought into this over the past few days to integrate any kind of variable burn tax effortlessly off-chain platforms, for example, like exchanges, bridges, anything that is essentially not on chain is going to be considered off chain at this point. We're going to need to have some kind of direct lane of communication, and realistically, the only people we need to do that with is Binance. The sad part about that is the direct line to Binance, let's say, not naming names, is gate kept. I think a lot of people know what I'm talking about, and it's just a situation that we have to accept, and it's going to be gate kept until somebody else gets a direct line. It would be very vital for any development team that was to pursue a Goldilocks burn tax, like I'm saying, to have that direct line, because they could develop an API that provides the current tax rate, okay, which is equal to what's happening on chain, instant, okay, relay, and it's going to need to offer all of the historical data for the tax rates and the volume brackets. These are really important for any exchange that would like to participate in the burn tax. And I do think if you introduce something that's a bit more interesting, just this plain Jane burn tax that's kind of grueling, kind of punishment, kind of pointless for any CEX to implement, instead we're introducing this rather exotic, would you say, some rather intelligent, the Goldilocks tax, you know, it's a very positive thing from my point of view. And again, we can't simply just sit here and go, the burn tax must stay like this forever. We're always going to have people that want to change it. We must find a Goldilocks solution, like we did with the simplified gas handling. It took almost 2 years, right? But we came out with one of the most simplest solutions here on the channel. Myself and Strafe spoke for many hours and came up with that simplified solution after all of those hyper complex ways of trying to solve it that never worked. And it's this very simple thing. So sometimes, just sometimes, right, you hit the sweet spot with these things. So exchanges who are off chain, these platforms, they're going to need to be able to query that API I was talking about. You know, they're going to need to be able to retrieve and apply the tax rate seamlessly. That's what we're really looking for when it comes down to the exchange level integration. When we look at typical exchanges at the moment, for example, like KuCoin, Binance, anywhere that uses a Terra wallet, they are getting hit on burn taxes, on withdrawals. This is a very important thing for us to understand, that even though a CEX doesn't support it, they have to support it because they use and utilize the ecosystem's wallet infrastructure in the same way you use and utilize the wallet infrastructure here on chain, and you yourself are subject to the burn tax. The only people who are not subject to the burn tax is Binance, because they are whitelisted. So fetch the tax rate dynamically. We've covered that. It's a very important point. That's going to need to come from some kind of on-chain Oracle or API. We're going to need to automate the burn tax deductions based on real-time rates. That's why that Oracle and API is so important. We also need to ensure that they remit the tax to the on-chain burn wallet. This is standard, but again, developing. This is why you need to have people like Strafecole, for example, that double, triple check people's work to make sure everything is in the end going to where it should be. Bridging mechanisms, we don't really have a lot of them at the moment. They tend to come in the future. Once you've built it, Field of Dreams stuff, guys. If you build it, the bridges will come. We have a few like TerraSwap, Terraport, and I have no doubt that these guys would support a dynamic Goldilocks tax. So therefore, the whole querying the dynamic tax rate before the transferring of tokens across chain and deducting and burn the required amount before completing the transaction, it would all be something that would come later on. But yes, we would have to start to cater to different protocols, bridging mechanisms, and try to help them adopt this new incentive, right? It's all about reducing the weight on the system. For example, we're all seeing how many coins are burning, these massive amounts of coins. They're moving around. We're seeing 120 million LUNC burned for 30 billion LUNC coins moved. That's not a trader's environment because the chain's not that busy. But if the chain was that busy, it would be a trader's environment. So it's like Ethereum. You don't mind paying those gas fees as long as you've made good gains. And that really does apply here in LUNC. So if we can figure out a system, right, to boil this down, if we can figure out a system that when the chain's not doing too good, there's not a lot of volume, there's not much going on with NFTs, the protocols are quieting down, we're going through a bit of a downturn, well, that burn tax comes down. We see a reduced rate come in. It could incentivize more trading. How many of you, let me know in the comment section, how many of you, okay, use XRP to move your coins from A to B? If I'm paying anyone for a service, you betcha I'm paying an XRP. It's quick, it's fast, and it is cheap. And that's why it's prospering so much. That simplification of the overall crypto product is why you're seeing XRP leading this halving cycle. Like I had originally said, we're going to need a real-time dashboard. Like, again, this is all down to layer 2 products, I guess, like myself, LUNCDash, Galaxy Station, StakeBin. We don't really ever need to worry about the user experience and transparency because you guys have got awesome players in the space that are building for the blockchain in some way, shape, or form. Regardless of my personal beliefs and my disagreements with these people, everybody's doing something for the chain, everybody's providing something for the chain, and effectively they're enabling the usage of the chain on the user level. So these are all of the different things I'm taking, and it's a longer video than normal, but again, I need to get this point across that this proposal that we've had up on screen the whole time has realistically opened the gates to a simplified burn tax that is a variable handler that has the ability to move up and down based on the volume on chain to begin with. And then maybe once we've got this direct line of communication with CEXs, we can get these APIs set up and we can get the information flowing both ways, and we can start to base the volume and the burn tax in a more intelligent way. After all, this is crypto, right? AI, you've got all of these different crazy things going on with AI agents. If we cannot build a Goldilocks burn tax here, I don't think any of the developers really should be working on this blockchain at this point. We've learned a lot. We're still learning a lot, and we're going to continue absorbing information, and we're going to keep putting these videos out. We're going to keep making these suggestions because, as you've seen in the past, that simplified tax handling really did save this chain around $60,000. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. We've spoken so many times about the Goldilocks burn tax and the fact I didn't think PLV Labs were going to be able to do this. I really didn't. It's not easy introducing a fixed rate into a decentralized ecosystem where each validator effectively agrees on consensus. That means each validator now agrees on this dynamic change that there is, keeping the price at $500. a variable Goldilocks burn tax has never been closer. But let me know what you guys think. Aside that, hope you're enjoying the content. Hope my sound's on point. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay humble, stay aware. Shoo!